Thank you so much, Brother Ali Murtaza, for that session. We'll be having our last session now with Syed Kamil. He started the thing off. He'll inshallah be ending this off. Last session with him. Inshallah, his session will be on Tawheed and the abolition of social classes. If we can welcome him up to the podium with one loud salawat, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. We've covered so far that the discussion on Tawheed is not like the discussion about whether the soil at the side of the road is fertile or not. Because that discussion, for both parties that are in the car, does not really matter. They continue to go the same direction. Whether you're a proponent that this is fertile soil, or you are somebody who says it's not, it don't matter. You're still going the same direction, regardless of which side of the argument you're on. But now if you had two individuals who significantly differ on the direction in which you should be going, one person thinks that the way to Kingston, Ontario is this way, and the other person thinks that the way to Kingston, Ontario is that way. Well, the bus they choose to take now significantly differs. They can't be companions on this journey if one truly believes Kingston is this way and the other believes it to be this way, while both wanting to go towards Kingston. So the discussion on Tawheed is one that needs to be now a separator, really, between somebody who believes in it and someone who doesn't. The proof should now lie in the pudding. Does this apply only to man as an individual? No, it goes beyond that. It goes to now the society level as well. So a society that believes in Tawheed, when compared to a society that believes in the opposite of that, which is what? Anything that's the opposite of Tawheed is, at any level that it separates from Tawheed, it becomes shirk. Ahsant. So now, a society which is muwahhid, believes in Tawheed, and a society which is mushrik, does not believe in that Tawheed, well, they can't be the same. The discussion on Tawheed was not like the discussion on whether the soil is fertile or not. The direction now society takes must be entirely different. It's not simply a name tag that you're placing and everything else stays the same. There has to be now fundamental difference. So let's look at some of this fundamental difference. We'll give two examples of mushrik societies. Okay. In India, long time ago, and this date as well, they used to have social classes. Okay, you had the Brahmins, right? At the very top, these were considered the priests and the people who were like the most pious of pious, the chosen of God. There were some other people in the middle, and you had the untouchables at the very bottom. These people were considered to be the farthest away from God. And now in this society, your lineage dictated now where you belonged. If you were from a Brahmin household, you were now a superior in society. Your social class was higher. If you were not, well then, by the distinction from that top level, you were now finding yourself to be lower as well. If you were from the untouchables, God forbid, you were exactly that, untouchable. No one wanted to be around you. Is this something that existed only thousands of years ago? No. It exists today as well. It's a second level of social structure and social class. This is more prevalent to our place now. Both exist simultaneously in time, but now the second example is more relevant to us in terms of place now as well. We're not in India right now. Okay. In this particular level of social class, your financial assets dictate where you belong. The very word successful now, if you were to open it up in this society, means how much money you have in the bank. In this society, if you were to have a center, then the person who donates the most gets the most respect. The one who donates the most gets to put their name on the auditorium. Okay. In this society, the person who has more financial gain and more material prowess is considered to be successful. And one who does not, well, therefore they do not have the criterion for success, and now they are not successful. Of the two, which one is better? We haven't mentioned the third yet, which is the Islamic worldview based off of Tawheed. But between the two, where one is now dividing the classes based off of their lineage and tribe, and one now that is ascribing classes based off of material wealth, which are better? See, the initial claimed at least an apparent link to God. In India, those that were the Brahmins were saying, why are we better than everybody else? They weren't saying because we have money and so on and so forth. They were saying, no, we're closer to who? To God. Okay. So now, we have two scenarios before us, at least for now. One says what? One says my conceptual classification of my class is based off of a proximity to God, and the way these guys define proximity is lineage. Okay. Then you have another class that says there might not be a God. They completely reject Tawheed entirely. I am going to dictate what success is, and success is money and material wealth. Why? Because that is the tool by which I can be happy. If I want something, I can say now kun, and I go to my bank balance and swipe the card and it becomes fayakun. Okay. Islam comes and says, O you who worship the material wealth entirely and now are giving social structure based off of that, for sure you're in the wrong. Okay. It also comes down to this person. It says, O you who are a claimant of proximity to God by means of lineage, although a system is slightly better than the first, the one that talks about just material wealth, you're also mistaken. See, what was the criterion for proximity that we mentioned in the first session? Islam comes to this particular tribe, this particular type of people, and says, your criterion for proximity is incorrect. It's not lineage. What was the criterion for the relationship between the creatures and Allah in that direction? It was now the attentiveness towards what? Towards their absolute dependence on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, the criterion is corrected. It's being told the actual criterion for proximity is not lineage, rather it is taqwa. It's not gender, rather it is taqwa. You have the verse behind me, right? Okay. Two examples. What I mean here. So you can have an apparent society really proximate in time to the Holy Prophet. Talking about the second Khalifa himself. Okay. Second Khalifa, very proximate in time to the Holy Prophet, has witnessed the Holy Prophet. Those people who are under his Khilafah have also witnessed the Holy Prophet, very recently converted, fresh into the deen of Islam. The society, what happens to it? Proximity and social class is dictated by what exactly? If you're an Arab, then you get to pray in the first line of the Salah. And the stipend you get from the treasury is separate and different and higher based on the tribe you belong to. But if you're Persian, some accounts are there that you can't even be in the first row of the Salah now. The stipend and financial help that the treasury is supposed to give you, good luck. All of a sudden, that proximate to the Holy Prophet, few years have passed. And all of a sudden, the social structure flips. How long did it take? Very few years. We can learn something from this. It is absolutely possible to flip social structure quickly. If you inculcate the right practices and your leaders embody the idea they wish to preach, and the effects hold. If the leaders embody the ideas of shaitan, those effects take place. The reverse is true too. If the leaders embody the ideals and the words of Allah, well, that effect holds true too. So change is possible, and quickly so as well. Second example. In the time of the Holy Prophet himself, everybody is digging khandaq, the trench. And an argument starts amongst the Arabs. They're trying to say which of the tribes are more proficient. And they start claiming that I'm from this tribe and I'm from that tribe and so on and so forth. And there's one individual left because he doesn't have a tribe that he can claim to. It's Salman. He's not an Arab. The Prophet comes here and says, what about him? This man has reached an apex of taqwa. And because of that, the Prophet said he's from us. You know what us is? Us is the Ahlul Bayt. It doesn't get higher than that. Now in this social structure, any person can reach the apex. If they embody taqwa, if they embody their dedication to their deen, now they have been given the capacity to change their social structure now. They can be like Salman now, such that the Holy Prophet himself comes in, says what? He's from us. Do you think the Holy Prophet said it only in this world? No. When the Holy Prophet comes and says somebody is from us, it is an absolute declaration. See, social classes and social providence that you gain in this dunya end in this dunya for you in the first two cases mentioned. Your lineage, it doesn't get you much when you go into your grave. Okay? The money you have doesn't do much for you when you go in your grave. But now this type of social class is something that's a declaration of your reality. Now when you gain taqwa, and the Holy Prophet for you says you are from us, and this statement means what? It means that for every level that you are like Salman, for every level that you are trying to get to Allah, and remember your dependence upon Him, have the taqwa of Allah, at that level this statement is true for you. You are from us at that level. And now it's a declaration. It doesn't end when you die. In the hereafter now, this particular social class also has merit and value. This is a very different system now. This is not based off of material and matter and life of this dunya only. This system now is based on your actuality and existence that transcends the dunya. Salawat, please. Another point to consider. In the material dunya, there's only so much money in this room. Correct? I imagine this room is the dunya. Okay. Only so much land. Only so many cars. Only so many resources. It's a limited world. For me to go up, by definition, what does that mean? For me to have this thing right here, it means what? It means you cannot have this. Bring it closer. Thank you. For me to have something in the dunya, a material thing, by definition it means what? You can't have it. Because the second you can have it, I can't have it then. So now for me to rise in this dunya by means of material gain, what does it necessitate? It necessitates that you don't have that which I have that puts me at the 1%. So if I want to maintain myself at a higher status in the background, whether I'm conscious of it or not, in this system, what is going on? Those that are at the higher level are the 1%ers in this particular system, the material system. Well, they have to now be proponents that if we want to maintain this position for us, we can't just give up that thing that places us here. Because if we give that very thing up, then we're not up here anymore. How would the system of Tawheed? Is it like that? Is it needed now that if somebody who has taqwa, who has attentiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, comes and says, you know what? I don't want others to reach this goal. Because if they reach this goal, then I won't have taqwa. No, it's not. See, this criteria is entirely different than the criteria for the material realm. There is social structure here too. Tawheed comes and abolishes social classes in the sense that those social classes which are not in line with Tawheed, which have an incorrect, imbalanced understanding of Tawheed, are eradicated. Said, no, this is the wrong system to abide by. Don't choose your friends based off of the finances they have. Don't give respect to others based on the job titles they hold. Don't respect and be friends with someone based on the family they belong to, the lineage they have. These are not sufficient. Tawheed now comes and says, the absolute essence by which your preferences are dictated is none but Allah. So now those who display a higher level of taqwa, choose those. What becomes now the criteria in this society for picking a spouse? Taqwa matters now. Piety matters now. Does that mean finances don't matter at all? No. But finances are seen with the lens of taqwa. Does he make halal income? Simply having income is not sufficient now. Simply having a loaded bank balance is not sufficient now. Has he earned that in a halal way? Will he spend it in a halal way? Will he use it for the deen or against it? Simply having good looks isn't sufficient now. Will he use those good looks in the way Allah has allowed him to use it? Or will he use them against that? Him and her. So all of a sudden, everything seen through the lens of taqwa will changes that very thing now. You could have a very rich and very beautiful person in this society, yet no one wants to marry them. Because from the Tawheedi lens, they see that that wealth that they've acquired and that beauty that they have are not being used in line with Tawheed. Salawat, please. Who's the propagators in this society? Who's the propagator in this society? Well, the propagator in this society is a scholar. Okay. Why is it a scholar? What was the apex role? In the material society, who are the idols and people that they look up to and the people who hold a lot of influence? Who are they? Well, if I want to get a lot of money, I should listen to somebody who has made a lot of money, correct? Okay. So now if the issue goes back to taqwa, well, who becomes now the role models and the person we should listen to in this particular society? It has to be now somebody who embodies that. So now all of a sudden, in this understanding, we're defining something about our scholars too. 10 meters of black cloth on my head and a few meters of cloth on my shoulders does not guarantee and guarantee for me the title. This now becomes a sign for what? For something else. If I have that something else, then yes, you listen to me. As the brother before me mentioned. In this society, you don't worship the monks. You don't worship the alim. If that person has the ilm of Allah and preaches to you to have the taqwa of Allah, then by listening to him, you are worshipping Allah. So now in this society, the people who you should listen to now drastically changes. So a scholar now has two wings that we can identify. What are the two wings of a scholar? One wing is that he must be a scholar, he must have some knowledge. Is the knowledge sufficient? I guarantee you, put all the scholars we have, other than the Masumi on one side, put Hazrat Iblis on the other. Okay? This particular person, Iblis, has heard every text and every hadith from the very mouth of the one saying it. From Nabi Adam till this day. He doesn't have to open up a book. He has better memory than us too. He can tell you, I was there when he said it, and I knew exactly how to corrupt people by missing up their understanding of this particular verse or this particular hadith. So simply knowledge is now sufficient, not sufficient. A secondary thing is required for a scholar. What was the one thing this guy was missing? Iblis. He said what? He said, I will worship the way I want to worship. The second thing has to be missing now. The scholar now cannot be guiding everybody to himself. Come listen to me. I'm the only one you should listen to, my person. Rather, he should be like the pointing hand that points towards the moon. You look at the pointing hand, but because it's pointing towards the moon, you look up and you're like, oh yeah, wow, that's the moon right there. You don't get stuck at the hand. For every person who gets stuck at the hand, they've diminished the purpose of the hand. And God forbid for the hand that's not even pointing, that hand is not a pointer at all. It's not a scholar at all. No matter how many clothes you wrap around it. So these two traits are critical now. The trait of knowledge and the trait of piety. Salawat, please. Final question, and we'll conclude here. If you follow in your 24 hours the principles of Tawheed, are you going to have hardships or no? Well, let's look at history. I cannot think of a single person who had more hardships than the 12 Imams did. If you look at the life of Imam Sajjad, I cannot think of a single person that we know of today in the GTA that can come and claim that my hardships are more. Look at the life of Imam Sajjad. From what happened to Karbala, what happened after that, what happened in the battle of the taking of Medina, what happened after that, all the way until the end of his life. I don't know a single person in the GTA who can come and say, yeah, I have more hardships than that. So we can say one thing. This belief in Tawheed is not a magic pill to take away hardship from the dunya. I'm sorry. If that's what the understanding was, that's not the case. So what is it a tool for? Well, let's analyze Imam Sajjad again. In that high level of hardship now, is there any time in which Imam Sajjad gives up, succumbs to the hardships, disregards his role as an Imam? No. Now this understanding of Tawheed increases you as a person. It doesn't change the external hardships. It places within your person an ocean, such that now when rocks fall, this ocean can take in. It doesn't cause ripples and so on and so forth. The puddle, which is there before understanding Tawheed, as the ma'rifah increases, starts to get bigger and bigger and turn into an ocean. What happens when you throw a rock in a puddle? Water, waves form, splash everywhere. But for an ocean, no. Compared to the entirety of it, you throw a rock, the whole ocean doesn't go wavy and so on and so forth. The rock size outside isn't supposed to go away. The capacity to take that now and grow from it does change. See, in the understanding of true Tawheed, the external hardship, including Karbala, is nothing but beauty. Why? It's nothing but beauty because it serves now to push you towards Allah. In experience now, you can, while being placed in the toughest situation imaginable, still be completely attentive towards Allah. That's true beauty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse says what? He tells us, I did not create you as a man or a woman, and did not make you as tribes so that you can say one tribe is better or one gender is better and so on and so forth. Those things served a purpose too. Being created as a man or a woman served a purpose in the Tawheedi construct and the Tawheedi structure of society. Tribes did serve a purpose. He does not say in this verse that the tribes don't serve a purpose. No, they did serve a purpose. The true criteria now for you to claim any level of elevation to your person is nothing but your person itself. Having a car is not you. Having a balance, the bank balance is not you. Having a big house, that big house is not you. Now that which dictates if you are elevated is nothing but you. A trait innate to you. What is that? It is your attention towards Allah in your 24 hours. To conclude now, we've talked about in this two-part seminar, and we talked about the idea of Tawheed not as an argument just to prove if Allah exists or not. We said after that, us as Muslims need to take the argument to the second level. There's many levels after this, by the way. But at least take it to the second level, which is what? Now that I believe in Tawheed, what does it mean for me and you? How does it change me and you? How do I make it so that this belief in Tawheed is not like the futile argument about how fertile a soil is on the side of the road, and actualize into something much more than that, something that changes the very direction of my life. Giving you conceptual understanding of this is where this seminar concludes. But now putting what you now understand to be the right thing and doing the right thing now is two different things. So now doing the right thing and now putting this concept and conceptual understanding into practice starts and commences now. So the true success of this seminar is not based on the attendance of the people here, which is important, people should attend. It's not based off of the propagation of it online, which is also true, it should happen. It's now based on an actual substance, which is the usage of the content here and changing the direction of the lives of those involved, both the speaker and the listener. Both are on a journey. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.